Hi, welcome to Tech Lesson 8. In this lesson, we're just going to do a very quick overview. This is a reworking of the old video of Snmp version 3 and how we can get this up and running and still Juniper's mistake in their documentation. Okay, the reason I'm giving you this topology is it doesn't matter which one of these systems we use. It's the configuration's the same on each system. Okay, so let's go and go ahead and configure this up. So we'll do the configuration on the London system. Okay, so let's go into edit mode and we'll start the configuration. So we're going to do set Snmp V3. Now let's have a look at our options. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a user-based security model. So that's the USM. Okay, so we're going to do USM. Let's have a look at our options again. We want to do a local engine. Okay, so we're going to utilize the local system. Everything's going to be local with regards to this system. Okay, so there's no remote calling here. We could do a remote call by using the remote engine, but I'm just going to show you the local engine. Okay, so we'll do a local engine. Then we have to put in a user. And we're just going to, as you'll see here, it's just a name. That's all it is. So we'll utilize test here. And the authentication is going to be, let's have a look again. We're going to use MD5. Okay, now this is the important bit of the Juniper documentation is I'm going to put in here, again, authentication and a question mark. And we have two options. We have authentication key and we have authentication password. Now, what Juniper's documentation will tell you is that actually in here you put authentication key. This is actually incorrect. What they have done is they've just copied the readout from a configuration that somebody has done. Okay, and what I'll explain to you is that as per user logins, if you use an authentication key, it encrypts an encrypted password because Juniper automatically encrypts passwords. So what you need to use is authentication password, but when you have a look at the config afterwards, it will have changed into authentication key. Hence why you might be confused or accidentally put in authentication key if you read the Juniper documentation. So we're going to put in here password, and we're just going to use the password, well, with a capital P, password. Okay, that's our first line of configuration done. Our second line is going to be set Snmp V3 USM, and again local engine user, again the same as above. So now it recognizes that we've got tests, so we can just tab it, and we're going to put in there, and let's have a look at our options again. So we're going to put in there AES128. And again, let's have a look. So this time it's going to be our privacy key. Okay, this time we are going to use the key. And all we're going to do is we're going to put in here, again, it's just like a password. So we'll just put in here testing 123. And that's our second line done. Now we use Snmp V3 VACM. Okay, and our security to group and our security model is going to be USM, and our security name is going to be test that we've already used, okay, from our lines above. And we're going to give ourselves a group name, and it's just a name. Let's call it Snmp group. There you go, we'll just call it that name. And our next line is set Snmp V3 VACM access group. Let's have a look at what we've got. We just really need to use the name that we've used above. So Snmp group default context prefix. and our security model is going to be USM. Our security level is going to be authentication, and our read view, again, just a name, we're going to put in there, we're going to read all the MIBs, all MIBs. So we'll use all MIBs. Now we're going to put in there set Snmp engine ID, and we're going to put in there user default IP address. Now the default IP address in this case that it'll probably use will more than likely be the most utilized interface IP address. So on this particular system, that's that could be probably AE0, whatever it is on your system, whatever it happens to be. So now we're going to do set Snmp View, and we'll the MIB view name is going to be the name that we entered above. So let's have a look at what name we entered, and it was called all MIBs. So that's what we're going to put in here. We're going to put in here all MIBs, and the OID is going to be .1 include. Now, all of Juniper MIBs start with .1. So the reality is we don't need the next line that I'm going to include, but the reason I include it is as a fallback just in case. So we can put in there again, set Snmp View all MIBs OID .1, .3, .6, .1 include. And we can commit check that. And we can commit that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick look at what we configured and what it shows with that authentication key that I mentioned. So let's go back through our configuration. Okay, let's go. Where did we do it? We did it here. Okay, so if you remember, we had authentication key, we had authentication password. So we utilized authentication password. Take note of that. Okay, so let's do a run show configuration Snmp, and we'll do it as a display set. Okay, so you notice that although we used authentication password, notice what it says here, authentication key. And this is why Juniper's documentation is wrong. Somebody's taken it from the documentation, from the readout, and put it into the documentation instead of confirming exactly what it was. Okay, so this is how you set up Snmp version 3. Okay, this will allow you to read all the Juniper MIBs. Maybe you don't want all of those. You might just want ones that begin with .1, .3, .6, whatever. Okay, and include, you can use wildcards in here as well. Okay, so any questions regarding that, please let me know, but this works, and utilize this configuration. It's also a lot less than what Juniper's recommended configuration is as a minimum. It's about 8 lines less. So Juniper's recommended minimum is not the minimum. This is. Okay. So make sure you configure it up like that. And here, use the authentication password, not use authentication key. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.